I'm going to slurp noisily at them. Ooh. Hello and good afternoon. I think I might just have had one of those newscaster moments where you're not sure whether you're actually on and you say something almost inappropriate. This is my little friend here, my Chihuahua pal. And I was just talking about slurping noisily to you. So I don't know if any of you heard that, but if you did, cheers. Very nice to have you with us. So welcome to Sounds Sublime and a sort of extension, if you like, of some of the top tips videos that some of you may have seen on our YouTube channel, where I've done a series of videos talking about sort of my non-negotiables for good, healthy singing, or as I see them, and the things that I've sort of picked up and learnt over the course of my career. And we thought we'd extend that a little bit today, but actually by looking at a specific piece of repertoire. And I thought, well, what should we do? Who should we turn to? And I thought, how about a good Spanish composer? It's a nice sunny day. And if any of you had holidays booked in Spain, but you not been able to go, maybe this might go some way to offsetting that disappointment. So we're going to look at Ave Regina Celorum by Alonso Lobo. There were two Lobos, Alonso and Duarte. Alonso, I mean, I think an absolutely extraordinary musician, extraordinary composer. He was a pupil of Francisco Guerrero, the other great Spanish composer associated with Seville Cathedral. Lobo was born in 1555 in Osuna, which is about 50 miles east of Seville. And in 1591, he was appointed assistant to Guerrero. I think he might have been a chorister under him as well, but he was appointed assistant maestro. And he clearly revered Guerrero and learnt a huge amount from the master. You can tell that he held Guerrero in such high esteem because of the 6 masses that Lobo published in a collection published in Madrid. 5 of them are parody masses. That's where you take a pre-existing theme or motet and base your mass's musical material on that motet. And 5 of them are based on motets by Guerrero. He then, this is Lobo, went to Toledo as Maestro di Capella in 1593. He was there until 1604 when he returned to Seville to become Maestro di Capella there. So there is this extremely rich heritage and history based at Seville Cathedral, as there is indeed in Toledo as well, where Morales was also Maestro di Capella there. But Seville is where it was at for these two, Guerrero and Lobo, and they're the real, you know, apart from Victoria, they're the real powerhouse Spanish composers of 16th century Spain. The piece that we're going to look at, Ave Regina Celorum, really shows Lobo's debt to Guerrero, and it's very much a sense of he's kind of doffing the cap, if you like, to his former master, and paying homage to Guerrero's most famous work, Ave Virgo Sanctissima. They're both scored for 2 sopranos, alto, tenor, bass. They both have a canon in the soprano parts at the octave, in Lobo's case, 2 bars apart, which is, I always love these kind of techniques. Lobo was obsessed with form and structure, but at no point does this sound like an exercise, like a compositional exercise. It's wonderfully well done, with some beautifully exotic moments, some corners which are peculiarly Spanish. I think if I were to listen to some of these pieces, I'd know that this was Iberian music for sure. So I think what we're going to do is that weird thing where, of course, I can't see you. I don't know if there's anyone there, but let's hope that there is. We're going to do a couple of exercises very quickly just to warm ourselves up. Okay, so if you're sitting like me, just make sure that you're sitting upright, 2 feet on the floor, no crossed legs or anything like that. Give your shoulders a little roll, just 3 circles back, just feel your chest opening out a little bit. Okay, and then we're just going to do 5 small breaths in and out like this. Okay, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, breathe in on 4, and then, and we're going to try using our hands to help coordinate this. Okay, so if you just hold your hands here like this, when we breathe in and towards you, and then it's, okay, here we go. And a 1, 2, 3. Try once again, maybe a little slower. That might be a bit fast for some of you. 1, 2, 3. Good. Now let's see if we can just open our throats a little bit more. Make sure that there's as much in as there is out, because when we pant, we tend to go and we don't take much in. I want this to be an equal measure. Okay. Make sure you're not letting your tongue slide back down your throat. You want to keep the tip of your tongue against the back of your bottom teeth so as to help enable keeping it forward. If you need to, if you've got a particularly big or long tongue, think about just rolling it forward a little bit, like that. And as we breathe in, we can try and coordinate two other things. So forward tongue, then as we breathe, we get soft palate, pings up. Yeah, and we're just going to practice just dropping our jaw, that's your jaw, just here. So we just create a little bit of space, a bit more space between your back molars. So it's those three elements here as we breathe. Is that the tongue stays forward in the mouth, the soft palate pings up, and we create a little bit of space in the jaw, okay? So see if we can coordinate those three things, still with the hand and this. If you're not very good at multitasking, you'll find these sorts of exercises enormously helpful, and any chores that you've got to do for the rest of the day, you will race through them in a hyper-efficient fashion, he says. Here we go, let's try once again. 1, 2, 3. I forgot about my hands, you see, I'm not so good at the multitasking. Here we go, once again. 1, 2, 3. Good. Now, could you say for me, please, and if there are any Spaniards among you, you might find this difficult, but could you say vicious vipers? Here we go. Vicious vipers. And can you say various vicars? Various vicars. Make sure that these fricatives, the v, are nice and long, not pressed at all. No, we don't want any of that. Just, it's just nice and shimmery. Could you say victorious Victorians? Victorious Victorians. And your last sibilant, the z, can be voiced as well. Victorious Victorians. Then, using that sound, we're just going to go up and down 5, very simply. You're with me? Now, each time we breathe at the end of the exercise, I want you to make sure that the last note is 3 beats long. And then on the 4th beat, we breathe, trying to remember to coordinate the palate lift, the tongue forward, and the jaw drop, okay? Or if you think of it less as a jaw drop and more just creating that little bit of space there. We don't need, you know, the flip top head. If you can remember your Colgate toothbrush adverts from the 80s, the guy with the flip top head so he could get to the teeth at the back. Any youngsters among you won't remember those, but they were very, very funny. Here we go, once again. So let's get that coordination. 1, 2, 3. One more. Good, very nice. Now, another little challenge with this exercise is to see if you can keep the flow of your breath constant, okay? We only ever need to breathe for the task in hand, so we don't need a whacking great breath for this. And in the same way, as we go up to the top of the voice, not the top of the voice, but the top of the scale, sorry, we don't need to give a load more air. Because as soon as we do that, we're creating this sense of grip and lock across here. And then this creates tension, which in turn pulls your soft palate down, makes the root of your tongue tight. That's what we're looking to avoid. So just, okay, so we're going to do that once again, starting here. And I want you to really focus on keeping the flow of the breath at a consistent rate. So if you had a straw sticking into a cup of water and you were blowing into it, At no point would the bubbles go from, we wouldn't have that, okay? It just stays at that. Those are technical terms, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Another one. Another thing you can do to help with this as you're going up and down the scale is imagine your soft palate raising. So you want it to go up as you breathe in, flip up there, but then as you're thinking up to the high point of the scale, imagine it going even higher. Because then the sound has the space, and hopefully it will mean that we don't feel the need to give any more with the breath when you feel like you're having to push the sound. We don't want to feel that. Let's go here. 1, 2, 3. Two more. One for luck. Good. Lovely. Very nice. Very nice indeed. I'm going to do one other exercise just before we have a look at the Ave Regina. And it's this, just this pattern. And what we're after here is to make sure that each ascending interval, we can really feel the sense of getting up and over the notes that we're going to. Stuck there. Sounding a little bit croaky today, partly an effect of having been out at a cricket match with my son for 3 hours from quite early this morning and cheering them on. So forgive me for that. So this sense of up and over, okay, so that the placement of the sound, and then on the way down, again, we just lift the sound so that it all stays in this lovely, bright, spinny, buzzy place. Okay, let's take it nice and steady. If you need to, use your hands. Here we go. 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and breath. Another one. How's your tongue doing? Is it staying nice and forward in your mouth on this nice open R vowel? Let's try that one again. Here we go. So when we're singing the Lobo, I want us to try and keep a percentage of our brain focusing on this sound being in that right place all the time. So it sits here. And from that point, we can take the voice anywhere, really. When we get stuck here, then we're in trouble. And then it's time to reset and, yeah, just have another go at it. If you've printed out your scores, if you're using a printed out score, just a couple of things to just point out to you. The first is in bar, I've got my page around the wrong way. This is on page 2, bar 32 in the alto part. The underlay here on Gloriosa needs to be all one syllable later. So it should be Caude gloriosa, caude Yeah? So Gaude Glory, and then the Re is on the second quaver F, the O on the crotchet E natural, and then the Sa on the A natural, and then Gau of Gaude on the B flat, and the De on the moving quavers. Let me sing it to you. Gaude gloriosa, Gaude. Yeah, I'll do it once again. Gaude gloriosa, Gaude glory, and then as written thereafter. And the other thing to point out is for, again, the altos in bar 50. Your second crotchet of bar 50 should be an E natural, please. An E natural there. So that cadence is yeah, not E flat as printed. Good. So what we're going to do is we're going to sing through this, singing along with the recording that the 16 made from our album Flight of Angels. It was our choral pilgrimage, I forget which year, but a few years ago, with just a wealth of beautiful music. And Amanda, who's with us remotely, is going to operate the score, so that will scroll along while I just control the track. So here it comes. It's about 3 minutes long or so. Here we go. So pick a part and off we go. I won't sing along so that you can concentrate on what you're doing. Isn't that glorious? What a piece. And a typical wonderful bit of Harry Christopher's magic at the end there, that final chord, after what's been quite a thick texture for a lot of the time in this piece, to just give us that sense of repose at the end. Harry just tucks the cadence in, and then this beautiful long final chord with a beautifully graceful diminuendo on it. Wonderful stuff. So let's take some corners and have a look at them. Think about a few technical and musical things that we can work on. The first thing I want to say is this first vowel that we all have to sing. Ave. If we think of all of our other vowels emanating from an R vowel, if we take that as our central vowel, or vowel, the central vowel, then everything else emanates from there. So we want to make sure that here we're really singing our optimum R vowel. So again, to think of the things that we were just talking about in the warm-up, nice, the tongue not back down the throat, nice high soft palate, and plenty of room here for the sound to resonate. Yeah, so we can just, so that we want that sound to be our optimum sound. And to help that, let's breathe in on the shape of the vowel that we're going to sing, okay? So instead of going, so all parts, breathing in on the shape of the vowel. And the other thing that I'd like us to think about is this idea of drawing the sound onto you, rather than feeling like you're going to expel the sound, which might give it a bit of a knock. Here we want this to be graceful. We're talking about the Queen of Heaven. So we want this to be graceful, and then there's this lovely sort of cyclical feel to the flow of the breath. So let's practice that. We're going to sing the first 15 bars or so again, okay? So every time you sing Ave, I want you to think about breathing in on the shape of the vowel, and then feeling that you're drawing the sound onto you rather than expelling it. Okay, here we go. This is it once again. You can hear there the sopranos in 10, 11, 12, in bar 13, this real sense of the gracefulness with which they come onto that note. There's no hit on it at all. The vowel is beautifully prepared. It's almost like they slide that one under the door. Word stress, of course, when we're singing polyphony, is of absolute paramount importance, and we have to make sure that we are ignoring the bar lines and just singing the shape of the words, okay? So here, Ave Regina, Ave Regina Celorum. We have to make sure that we are always shaping the text naturally and in this graceful fashion. The first word, even Ave, this two-syllable word, it needs to have this sense almost like a genuflection. Ave Regina. And the other thing that I want to say is about the architecture of the phrases. Harry always talks about how the phrases of polyphony match the architecture of the buildings. And there's a general understanding that if the phrase is ascending, you give a slight crescendo to it. And if the phrase is descending, then there's a slight diminuendo. And then you get the natural ebb and flow of the phrase here. So if we look at the sopranos in bar 5, there is going to be that sense of growth. And then just shaping away on the cadence. Likewise with the basses at the very beginning. Ave Regina. We want that phrase to just be shapely as we come away. one of the things that I find often in conducting polyphony with with non-professional groups is this sense of the ebb and flow, particularly with two-syllable words, that we need to have a stronger syllable and a weaker syllable. And if it is normally something like ave, yeah, verum, corpus, if we were singing that, just to inflect those syllables, not in a, oh, listen to me, aren't I being musical kind of way, but then the music has this ebb and flow to it, which is what we're after. So this time we're going to sing those first 15 bars again, and I want you to really focus on the shape of the R vowel at the beginning. But now let's think about the contours of the lines, yeah? Basses in bar 9, for example. Regina, yeah, the slight crescendo, the direction through the ascending quavers. And then as we do shape away, but still making sure that we sing and we're trying to give the natural emphasis, the natural flow of the shape of the language by not by hitting the important syllables, so that there's nothing vertical, but it's all horizontal, and we do it through the length of the vowel, this sense of elongating the vowel there on celorum. It's almost like it's got a stroke to it. Okay, so here we go. Here's the first 15 bars. Once again, I have no doubt whatsoever that you're all sounding gorgeous. One thing I'd just like to bring to your attention, if I can just flip back to here, if we can just go back to bar 12. There it is. Look at the bass part here. That cheeky D flat there. Now, if Sally Dunkley were with us, and who knows, maybe she is, she would say, look out for those moments when you see, speaking in modern notation, when you see an accidental like that, which isn't in the key signature. So here, the D flat, it's always going to be a moment of special harmonic color, and there's normally an expressive purpose to it. So if you think that the bassists have sung, a beautiful moment. So look out for those. There are a few of them dotted throughout this piece. Basses, anytime you see a little moment like that, it's one to give a little cushion to, do something expressive with. Yeah, beautiful. Now, if we just stay where we are, and let's look at bar 13. So for the sopranos here, Ave Domina. That's a little high for me after hay fever and cricket. Ave Domina, just nourishing naturally through the dotted minim on the C. Ave. Then it gives the little springboard up to the top F as well. And then the crotchets after this. Angelo. Let's see if we can inflect those quavers in the soprano parts here. I just got a text message from Sally saying she is here, and she agrees. Hello, Sally. Good. Thank goodness I said the right thing. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble. Lovely. Right, sopranos. Just sing that with me on the piano. Let's do sopranos in unison. Okay, from bar 13. And just see if you can feel this sense of expansion, almost like you can feel it broadening. Sopranos in unison from bar 13, so everyone's singing the first soprano part and any other parts you want to. And 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Lovely. There's such a, they're so singable, these lines. I mean, I say this often, but you always have the sense, or I always have the sense, when singing polyphony, that all of these composers were singers themselves. They would have all been members of the cathedral choirs. You know, Byrd, Tallis were gentlemen of the Chapel Royal. They sang all the time. And one really feels that in the shape of the lines. They're a gift. They're an absolute joy to sing. And it's very obvious to me with contemporary music, those composers who sing and those who don't. And you know, if you want the sort of paragon of this, currently it's James Macmillan. His lines are a gift because he's a lovely singer himself. It's so important that I think that the composers, you know, if they're writing vocal music, that they've sung themselves. Good, lovely. Altos, you get a little bit of what I'm going to quote lovely Sally again, what she calls mothing, you know, the last part to be written. So if you look at the upbeat to bar 14, Ave Domina. It's not the most inspired, is it? You're just filling in a bit of harmony, really. But you can make it super interesting with the way you phrase it. Ave Domina. It can be very graceful, and just that little gesture will draw the ear towards it. Let's sing that altos. I'm going to be in minims for the moment, okay? So 1 and 2. Ave Domina, going on. Ave Domina, Angelo. Now here's a case in point where, again, if we're ruled by the tyranny of the bar line, then we find ourselves in trouble. Just take us back to bar 16, please, which is the last bar of page 1. So here we get Ave Domina, na Angelo. It's quite clunky and a bit ugly, so we have to fight against that. Ave Domina, Angelo. So a little nourishing of the sound towards lorum altos can really help us there. Good. Let's go back to bar 13, around bar 13, okay? And let's do this little section, and then we'll sing into where the third point of text comes at salve radix. Yeah, okay, good. It gets a little bit more syllabic, so plenty of action. Let's here we go. This is starting from around bar 13, okay? Bring the track back to here. Tell you, this whole lockdown thing has been a crash course in technology, really has. Here we go. Moments here. This is looking at bar 19 and the entries from that point onwards. When we have this salves, you can hear the singers using wonderfully long sibilant S's, so you get a real sense of this sa, salve, radixa. Don't be afraid to roll the R there. For expressive purpose, the tenors in bar 20, you can get this lovely shape to that minim. Salve radix sancta. And here we've got two-syllable words in a row. Salve, radix, sancta, which need to be shaped beautifully, gracefully. Can everyone sing that? Let's all sing the tenor part, please, at a comfortable octave, starting at bar 19, okay, at Angelorum. Everyone singing the tenor part. 1 and 2. Angelorum salve radix sancta. And the beauty of these sibilant S's, as they overlap, it creates this wonderful rich texture. There's something really sort of velvety as we hear these, the sibilant S and then followed by a beautiful resonant and shapely R vowel if we've got this a minim on the salve. Another little thing to point out here, if we look at the bass part in bar 23, you will see on Sancta Salve, middle of bar 23, we've got minim crotchet, minim crotchet. Now in polyphony, whenever you see that, it's two groups of three. Okay, so we're in a duple part in this meter at the moment, but here, radix sancta, salve, radix sancta. We suddenly get the sense of three on sancta, salve, radix sancta. It's a little moment of dance, of lift, of rhythmic interest, and it's what gives a lot of this music, again, its lilt and its lightness, and also in a dense texture like this, where we've got most of the parts singing most of the time, it's like an Airtex shirt, I always say. It's like you get a little bit of moment of the wind blowing through it. So the more you can shape those, sancta, salve, radix, and give it this sense of lilt, it helps to just let the music breathe and live. Here we go. Let's go back to the top of bar 19, okay? Starting with the first sopranos on their salve lead. Here we go. This would be just a couple of seconds before. Here we go. So this is how you just know that this is Spanish music. These last 3 bars at the bottom of page 2. First, it actually kind of starts with that tenor line in bar 31. It's that little figure, to me, just sort of smacks of Spain. And then the altos with your wonderful Gaude gloriosa, Gaude glorios. Wonderful line there, wonderful bit of writing. And this oscillation between the A naturals and the A flats. It feels exotic to me. It's colourful, it's fragrant. And underneath that, we've got this, if we look at the last bar of page 2, bar 34, we've got the tenors and basses going up in parallel thirds here. Yeah. To that as it is actually. Which is lovely. And then the contrary motion of the altos against that. Yeah, as they come down, it gives this wonderfully rich, quite closely packed texture all of a sudden. The tenors then dipping under the basses at bar 35, and with the sopranos doing their imitation of each other, considerably higher on the gaudes. This word gaude, we need to make sure that the G really fires, and to make that sound, we have the our soft palates, the back of our soft palate touching against the back of our tongue. G, g. So if you want to say gaude, just say it with me. Gaude, yeah. And here. Gaude glory. So we've got 2 very different syllables, really, or different consonants here. We've got the speed of the G on gaude, but then gloriosa. Could be glor, a quick one like that, or it could be glorios. You can maybe stretch the L a little bit, depending on your taste. You know, how do you want it to sound? That's, in this instance, absolutely your choice here. But see if you can get the difference between gaude and gloriosa. Maybe they should both be quicker in this moment. What else do we say? Let's have a look at that section. I'm going to go back to bar 26, okay? Starting with the sopranos, bar 26 at Ex Quam Mundo. And I'm going to let you sing all of this passage up at the top of page 3, because it is just glorious. Can we make sure on mundo that we're shaping that two-syllable word on mundo? And lux, that was the other thing I was going to say. Not lux, please. Not lux est orta. It's not that bar of soap from the 80s, yeah? It's lux, the light. It needs to have the most beautiful resonant U vowel that you can get. Lux est orta. So get those lips forward, yeah? I want to feel you all pouting at me. Lux est orta. Here we go. This is going back to bar 26. I'll give you a slightly longer run in than I gave you last time. But pick it up from bar 26, okay? Here we go. Basses, did you find your D flat going? Were you there for that? Yeah, so there it is again. I could feel Sally's tail wagging coming up to bar 43 because she would have spotted that one. But there it is. Isn't that a wonderful line at bar 43? It's misterioso, isn't it? Beautiful. I just think that bottom of page 2 is one of the most glorious few bars that I can think of. It's so rich, it's lush and opulent. Just moving on to bar 40, or just before bar 40, the super omnes speciosa, which starts with the basses in bar 37. I like the way the ear picks up on the imitation. Super omnes specio, and then tenors, super, and then sopranos. So again, the sibilant and the length of the S, supero, doesn't matter that it comes before the beat. That's absolutely fine, because what's happening is the vowel, the U of super, comes on the beat, and then it sounds like we're in time. If you try and do the consonant on the beat, su, you're going to sound late, okay? And it's more expressive if it comes early. So let's revel in that. We want to just tuck the dynamic in a little bit here. So at 43, Harry does a little bit of a pullback, little rallentando, and just brings the dynamic down. Now that's challenging for the second sopranos here. If we're looking at bar 42, super omnes speciosa. So we've got to make sure, second sopranos, that we're keeping all that lovely space that you've made here, that as we get quieter, we don't let the soft palate collapse, we don't tense up. We're going to try and just make sure that the breath keeps moving so the sound stays supported. Don't particularly like that word, but you know what I mean. Okay, we're all going to sing that second soprano part, starting at bar 42. And we're going to diminuendo on that top F and see if we can keep the sound spinning. Okay, 1 and 2. Super omnes speciosa. Special. It's quite hard, certainly for baritone who's got hay fever, but that sense of feeling the stretch through the minim of the F. Let's do it once again. I'm not going to sing this time. 1 and 2. Lovely. And as we go, oh, sorry, it goes down to the E flat there. Oh, reading the wrong part. But as we move from that F to the E flat, speciosa. Keep the space. Try and keep that space. It's kind of scary and it feels a little bit sort of exposing, but it's great if you can. Now, we come to my favorite consonant now. V, the V, vale. So all of our vicious vipers that we did at the beginning, our various figures. Here we need to have beautifully long, expressive. Vale, vale, valde. And the alliteration here of vale, valde decora is beautiful. And it, as I say, in 43, there's a little diminuendo here into this new point. And it feels a little bit more personal, a little bit more intimate. So you get valde decora, vale, valde decora. I wasn't so good on those V's. Vale, valde decora. Here, just make sure that the teeth are just touching the bottom lip. It doesn't need to be valde, valde. Yeah, vale, valde. It's just like very lightly kissing someone. Apparently. Okay, let's try. Can you just everyone sing? Let's all sing the tenor part of 44. Vale, valde decora. Just that. Okay, 1 and 2. Lovely. Okay, let's sing, please. Let's sing with the track from bar 44, starting with the tenors. Again, I'll give you a little bit of. Actually, do you know what? Let's go back to bar 37 instead. Middle of bar 37. Okay, starting with the basses, so we can give the sopranos, the second sopranos, another shot at bar 43 with that diminuendo and keeping that sound spinning. So here we are on the bass lead in the middle of 37. And if I just take the track back, give you a little run into it. So this is starting from middle of 37. Beautiful stuff. I love the way the singers bring this different quality to this passage here. Vale, valde decora. As I say, something a little bit more intimate, maybe a bit more reverential, prayerful. You know, there's this sense of a head bowed here. There's another D flat for the basses. We're being spoilt in bar 51. It's only momentary. Vale, valde, and for the tenors, of course, as well. You see how we need to give due attention to these moments. One thing that I did want to just go back to that just caught my attention earlier, bar 40. Again, the altos here have got to be really super diligent with their text shape. If we go from bar 39, the altos get speciosa super omnes. Yeah, otherwise it can sound very clunky. Otherwise, super omnes. So we want to just throw that accent. Altos, let's just sing that one. In fact, everyone singing bar 39, please. Starting from speciosa on the alto part. Really shaping these. 1 and 2. Speciosa super omnes Yeah, good. Well done. Now, let's just look on to bar, this is the top of page 4 at et pro nobis. Can you make sure that you give me the T on et so that we will hear the text clearly here? Et pro nobis semper Christum. Likewise, the cr of Christum, really beautifully early. Semper Christum, yeah? Don't be afraid to bring these consonants in early because it's the I of Christum that we want to feel on the beat. Altos in bar 54. Pro no, you could maybe give a little lift to these. Et pro nobis, just to provide a little bit of daylight in this thickish texture here. Et pro nobis semper. Again, basses, we're going to have to work hard on our text shape here, as the tenors have done in the bar before. And the second sopranos are finishing off their beautiful phrase from before. Just looking ahead, bar 56, tenors. Pro nobis semper Christum exora. Enjoy those quavers there. Then lovely, lots of space as you go up over the top. Semper Christum exora. And that B flat that ties across the bar line, 58 into 59, as you become dissonant against the sopranos. Yeah, the B flat against the C there. So sing through that B flat into the bar line, and then the resolution of the A natural. So nice and active with the text here, tenors. This is going back to bar 53, please. Let's go bar 53. And tenors, as I say, nice and active, please, on the text. Good. Amanda, if you're there, just take us back one more page in the score. You're probably busy getting ready for the next event. Non-stop for Amanda today. Right, here we go. So I'll try and give you a couple of a bar or so into et pro nobis. It's going to be a little bit more than a bar. Couple of things just to think about there at the end. I love the way Harry he's so good at cadences. That easing of the cadence there. Oh, and the altos. Oh, it's the length of the quaver, the E flat for the altos and the C for the sopranos. Just there, it's a lovely moment, isn't it? Just look at also bar 57 for the altos. Yeah, those little semiquavers. If you're finding these and if you're struggling to give them the clarity that they need, one little cheat that you can do: put your hand on your tummy and just shake at that moment, and then try doing it, still imitating that shake, but without actually shaking there. It just needs, for these little moments of ornamentation, just needs that little bit of articulation on the breath. So let's all just sing. If we sing, let's do the altos from bar 54. Okay, so I want shape on these two syllable words, or pro nobis semper Christum, and then just have your hands on your tongue and give it a little shake when we get to those semiquavers. Here's 54. So 54 on the altos, everyone singing the alto part. 1 and 2. Et pro nobis semper Christum exor, et pro nobis semper Christum exor. A little cheat for you there. Of course, you can't do it in performance. Good. I think we're pretty much there. If anybody's got a quick question, pop it in the chat. But what we're going to do now is we're going to sing through the whole piece. So if you didn't know this, I hope that you've enjoyed it. As I say, it's from the disc Flight of Angels, which was, I forget which year, but the Choral Pilgrimage a few years ago, giving an overview of the works of Francisco Guerrero and his pupil, Alonso Lobo. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Here we go. Let's go from the top, folks. Hang on, I've lost it. That's the wrong track. And don't forget, there's plenty more coming from Sounds Sublime. So stay on the 16 Facebook page and see all these wonderful other acts which are coming up today. Here we go. There we go. Hope you enjoyed that. Beautiful stuff. Well done. Enjoy the rest of the day.